All right, so I might have a tougher time with this one. I'm trying to condense a pretty broad subject matter into a smaller one. So a little disclaimer here, if you're not interested in having a family, a lot of this isn't gonna apply to you, so I guess watch it if you want, but I don't really wanna hear all the people who need to be sitting in the corner with rounded scissors and soft edible glue about how there's an exception to the rule. Well, guess what, retard? By acknowledging that there's an exception to the rule itself must exist. So you're so stupid on like 4 different levels, it's just, I can't believe it. But as you guys know, I do love absolutely ripping people apart. So if you do want to say some stupid shit, I will, more than gladly have a great time with you. So the meme we're talking about today revolves around a status. It was a question to men asking them what was the highest level of intimacy, or what is the highest level of intimacy that women can provide to men. There was a gentleman by the name of Corey in the comments who responded, much to the glee. I guess he got like 8 likes on the fucking whatever. But, a safe space to not have to be strong is what Corey said. So Corey thinks that the highest level of intimacy that women can offer to men is to provide the man with a safe space where he doesn't have to feel strong, which it's kind of interesting because in that sense they almost, have flipped around the gender roles, and people wonder why the divorce rate's 50% and nobody wants to get married. Well, people say stupid shit like this and everybody loves it. So I'm here to tell you that masculinity and femininity certainly do not work like that. It is the man who is supposed to provide the safe space for the woman, and I think that's a problem today because most men are sorry fucking cowards. The closest I see to dudes not being that case are guys that master a game, so to speak, which is an important tool to know how to use, but when you've just learned how to pretend to be masculine and how to push the right buttons to manipulate women into sleeping with you, casually especially, I mean, you're not really, are you really doing that much for gender relations? I get it that, caveat emptor and be Machiavellian and just care about you and get what you want and whatever, but there's a degree to which the rest of us can't do that if we all want to have a really nice society for people like you to take advantage of. So, and it's interesting that the dude basically said what a woman would say, and I mentioned that because I think there's this giant misconception that people have about femininity in general, and that it is fundamentally weak or what have you compared to masculinity. Not that, again, in the frame of somebody who talks about that stuff should matter, because all we have is an androgynous fucking soup to work with, or at least blank slate bullshit. I don't know. It's absolutely retarded. So in response, I obviously shared my usually acerbic spirit, my thoughts on just the rank stupidity that was that fucking post. And it's interesting because, I get there's this whole 4-dimensional simping thing, which I'll probably get into at the end, that goes on when people say stuff like that online. But I can tell you right now, there is a definite correlation between how many men you're sharing your wife or girlfriend with and how much you say stupid shit like, I want the woman to provide me with a safe space, you fucking pussy. Give me a break. So the best you can do, and the time that you would want to provide a safe space for a man, is when he's a very young boy. In those kind of instances, when it's developmentally appropriate, of course, you're going to want to be providing a safe space where the young boy doesn't have to feel strong or be strong, because that's not within his fucking character at that age. And what I think goes on a lot is people, miss out on things from their parents that they deserved and should have got but didn't, due to no fault of their own, and then they turn around and then go try and look for that in their partner. Men do it, women do it, and I think this is an excellent example of such, of course, much to the detriment of like a relationship as a whole. So, and it's not like I'm trying to say there's some objective standard as to how, any and every relationship would work. Obviously, the devil is in the details with this sort of thing, but as an overall view of human nature and society in general, yes, there is masculinity, yes, there is femininity, yes, they've both been crushed in the name of leftism primarily, and thereby government power, but that certainly doesn't make them any less relevant. And I stand by the contention that men are meant to face the world. We're the ones that are supposed to go out there, get the resources, fight off all the retards, make sure that there aren't stupid ideas taking over our nice little country we have to live in. And what that does is allows women to kind of relax into their femininity and take over the absolutely sacred role of childbearing, which, as an aside, is something that has been shit on to an astonishing degree. I personally can't imagine how anybody in their right mind would look at their life arc and go, yeah, you know what, I provided way more value working in fucking HR for 30 years than I could have by having a kid and raising them well. That's retarded. You're a fucking idiot if you think stuff like that. And I understand that's most people. But, you know, modernity has done very, very well to pervert gender dynamics, just off the top of my head, along with what I've got listed here. I mean, go look at K through 12. What is the percentage of male teachers in K through 12? It's very low. I mean, these days, if you're a man and you express any kind of interest in being around young children, people think you're a fucking pedophile. I mean, that's how sick and twisted shit has got. Flip the script. Again, with extracting the principle and applying elsewhere. Imagine if it was the reverse. And so in our K through 12 schools, you know, it was 98, 95% men that were the teachers. Would that not perhaps be detrimental to the females, you know? So it's very, very, very bad out there now. And I get, you know, the Alex Jones types, they talk about shit in the water, which I think is definitely playing a role. To what extent, it's really hard to tell. And I think it's a lot more, you know, you can solve if there's stuff in the water, that's easy to get rid of. Okay, I just get a fucking reverse osmosis water filter. Now there's nothing in my water. You know, I don't have to use plastic bottles. That whole BPA-free thing's a scam, by the way. There's BPA, well, we won't have to get into that, but you know, the drinking out of plastic is probably not the best for you. So, but those environmental contagions, they're very easy to deal with. It's these ideological and societal ideas about, you know, inverting the natural order of men and women that really start to fuck stuff up, as we're seeing today. You know, beyond that, you've got obnoxious family law. I mean, you don't have to look very far to find men that have been, for no good reason often, which is borne out in the statistics, you know, raked over the coals in divorce. We call it divorce rape in the manosphere, I guess. Not that I'm a member of that fucking crowd, but you know, you can look at the data. The majority of women the majority of divorces are initiated by women, and the primary reason, which is far and away, you know, it's got a far and away lead on the other ones, being marital dissatisfaction, i.e. there is no fucking reason. I'm just bored. And to that end, if you look into the data, most people who get divorced, even if it was for a quote unquote legitimate reason, they look back on it 5, 10, 15 years later and wish they hadn't done that. And it's really fucking sad, because you see how much our society and media and all that pushes this stupid idea. You know, husbands and families and wives are just like anything else in your life. Instead of fixing it or taking care of it, just throw it away and get a new one, right? That's, you know, the key to fucking happiness. Another big one is this whole explosion in pornography for men. I mean, a lot of the drive to go out and so like kind of pursue women is kind of taken away by pornography. You know, not that women are exclusively to be viewed as sex objects, but that is definitely part of the drive that goes out there, or that is responsible for men going out there and kind of getting or having the motivation to go interact with all these women and date them and such. Because if you're not willing to kind of take whatever sloppy ass woman comes your way through the natural progression of your life, it's going to take a lot of time, effort, and energy, unless you get lucky, you know, to find a good gal. That's the problem in my case, unfortunately. And no, I'm not going to just go, you know, pick up some land whale. Believe me, the opportunity's been offered several times, and it's, nope. Sorry, stay single for the rest of my life if that's the case. And then to flip it around for women, you know, online dating and social media has really kind of changed this whole thing. Because if you think about it, if you were a 7 out of 10 in, let's say, St. Clair County, Michigan, as a woman who's a 7 out of 10 in terms of attractiveness, you know, she really didn't have that many options as to which guy to pick. Now, if you're that same girl, you have access to men all over the world, most of which are just pursuing you for sex, as would have been the case with the local men. But it's a lot easier to hide that. I mean, you've got, and the hotter you get as a gal, the worse it gets. I mean, if you're a 10, you know, you could post shit on Instagram for a week, and if you're even a little bit smart, you know, have some fucking billionaire out in Dubai fly you out there ostensibly for fun, and in reality, you're going to be doing a little bit more than just hanging out on a yacht, right? But people like to live in lies. It's a lot easier that way. And then, of course, the big one, feminism in general. I mean, that has just been an absolute fucking nuclear bomb on the scene of proper family orientation in the West. I don't need to go on about the bullshit that is, especially modern feminism, but you know, I've actually got a video I'm going to make today about this, about how women actually can have it all. It just happens to involve doing nothing that the mainstream, which necessarily involves feminism, you know, says to do. So it's like I said on Facebook, masculinity and femininity are like yin and yang. They are meant to come together to allow either gender to best operate in its own, you know, quasi-predetermined by genetics and the fact that we're animals capacity. So, bringing up feminism again, it has kind of served our rulers, something I refer to colloquially as the oligarchs, basically the plutocrats behind the scenes that are actually calling the shots. I think that's kind of one of the big flaws with democracy over autocracy, for instance, is that you don't really know who's calling the shots. It's supposedly us, but as the 2020 election showed us, it's not at all by a fucking long shot. So sorry to burst your bubble there, buckaroo. And it really, feminism and this whole destruction of the family has served that class of people very well, because by not having, you know, the bedrock of strong nuclear families at the basis of civilization, it's much easier to exert control over these people. I mean, do you think, like, I mean, look at the black community, for instance. You know, what is, I think the out of wedlock birth rate for American blacks is 75%. I mean, somewhere around there. That's fucking staggering. That's 3 out of 4 black people grow up without a fucking stable family. I mean, that's a travesty. Slavery didn't even do that. So, you know, and who wins? Is it the black kids? Is it the black families that win? No. Is it maybe establishment Democrats and establishment Republicans who get votes now have, you know, they get more votes because now people are dependent on the state instead of being dependent on their husbands and fathers, you know? So always follow the money. And insofar as what a woman can and ideally will give a man, it's plenty, none of which includes some safe space for you to be a little bitch. You know, that's, fuck you, dude, just a little bitch, you know? But, you know, women give you children. They give you domestic comfort, companionship, sex, physical intimacy, not intimacy in the spirit of this gay bullshit some androgynous homo fag on Facebook was talking about. You know, and that's in exchange for protection from the world. You know, you give the woman the safe place. That's, you know, kind of how these things work again. And that's assuming that you're not with some like masculinized kind of perverted contortion of what women were supposed to be, which unfortunately is most gals, just like most guys are some faggot ass androgynous blob of I'm a little bitch, I need some more estrogen in a safe space. God, it's fucking pathetic, man, I tell you. But, you know, so, and the intimacy in that regard, I mean, one of the biggest things that a gal gives you is paternity. So, I mean, you see, it's a little bit harder of a concept to grasp than rubbing your face in some girl's tits while you cry about how much of a bitch you are, but that is extremely important, and along with everything else that I just listed off here, is one of the many benefits that women bring to the table for men in this sort of classical masculine feminine arrangement. You know, not to mention all the other stuff. Like if you, and seriously, like if you add up all the stuff that the stay-at-home mom, I mean, and how fucked up is it that we can't even say that with like, oh, she's a stay-at-home mother, what a piece of shit, you know, she must be, you know, operating far below her peak capacity. But if you go look at all this stuff that your typical stay-at-home mother would do for her family and her husband, you know, notwithstanding the additional income the man often makes with that kind of support system, but God damn, all the housework running this shit. You realize how much a butler costs? Go look up online, see how much that one function costs. And it's not just that, it's all sorts of other stuff. Never mind all the different stuff you get from working together and whatnot. And you see how this whole, you know, retard framework kind of plays into the whole toxic condition that is like Western civilization as a whole right now. But this is all a problem. And this is why, you know, you'll see such a positive reaction from this. I mean, you see it from the women, I think, because they know how to kind of toe the party line, because saying something like that, like saying, oh, the best thing a woman can give a man is a place to not feel strong, you know, that is very much in line with this sort of status quo bullshit idea about how gender dynamics should work. So that's, you know, kind of why the women will kind of, you know, throw like something like that. The men, I think, on the other hand, is they're just sorry fucking cowards, pussies. I mean, how many men do you know can make a video where they make some kind of moral proclamation, argue a contention? I mean, it's staggeringly small. I mean, you could even extrapolate that to people who will even post text-based, you know, musings on Facebook. How many of them have fake fucking profile pictures and shit, man? Like, can't even show their fucking face. I mean, that's pathetic. How much of a coward do you have to be like that? And that's why the guys kind of rally behind this, because once you get to a certain age of 18 or 19, it's very, very hard to stop being a little bitch. And you kind of have to enter into this screwed up, again, androgynous noodle soup arrangement that has been proffered by the media and the idiots that educate us at school, you know? So And even the ones that, because how many, you go online, you look at these pickup homos, I think a lot of them are fucking fake because a lot of the stuff is very easy to fake. It's very easy to fake being a masculine man in general. And that, so a great example would be at the gym, and I've seen this happen a number of times. I'm sure any other fellow gym rats have as well, where you see a guy, he's just fucking jacked, looks all badass, and you hear him talk and he's got some high-pitched voice and voted for Hillary Clinton and wants to wear a mask everywhere they go. So, and in that regard, guys that learn this whole sort of game thing really just reproduce what it's like to be an actual man. And I know if you have money, it's sort of can act as a placeholder for that once you get past a certain point. But again, fundamentally, they're cowards. How many guys do you know that make a shitload of money that won't open their mouth about anything on Facebook or even talk about it in public because they'll lose their precious shekels? I mean, that's disgusting. Would you rather make $70,000 a year, let's say, and have total freedom over your schedule and what you can say, or would you rather work like a dog for a probably superior man for $300,000 or $400,000 a year, but you're shackled to towing the party line like an intellectual coward while you wonder why your woman might step out on you? Doesn't make a lot of sense. So, which is another reason why, in the spirit of my other video, gals especially should not hand out sex to dudes like it's candy. I mean, I know not everybody does that, but there's a certain element of women out there, and I get where you're coming from. A lot of the guys will just drop you and stop paying attention to you if you don't put out for them. So what? Trust me, you're going to be way better off in the long run if you just keep those cards close to your chest, because that's what a lot of this, all this internet bullshit for dudes, all it's about is getting in a woman's pants. That's really, I think it's pretty disgusting in that regard. Not that the tools should be completely disregarded outright because of that fact, but it all just comes down to fakery and lies, which is kind of what the West as a whole has degenerated into, which is why we have stupid shit like this. It's like, quit being a little bitch, dude. It's just ridiculous. So, and then on 4D simping, like I had mentioned, so Corey knows that people pretend to praise certain things in the public sphere that they may not necessarily agree with, kind of like what I was saying earlier. So it's 4D simping in the sense that without coming out and acting like a simp directly, Corey can say some kind of stupid shit on social media that he knows is going to get picked up on by other people, and that he knows, maybe there's a couple gals out there in his sphere or that are friends with whoever made the post that if he comments on, maybe they'll read that and think he's such a sweet guy, and per his defunct worldview of what women want, that maybe they'll want him more because of that. And that's how it's almost like, you see it with business people, right? They go and donate to a charity just to look good. It's all just, I forgot what the fucking, it's 4D chess, whatever, 4D simping, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my thoughts on that issue. And, hope you liked the old video here, and have a nice day.